I don't remember the words "I love you" as a kid being, swirled around my home. But for some reason, I thought this would probably be the best time for me to say it to my dad first. Welcome to my thoughtful ramblings, where we'll talk about all sorts of things, getting joy from what each new day brings. My thoughtful ramblings. Hey everybody, welcome back to Thoughtful Ramblings. I'm so excited for today's episode. This one is about one of my very, very, very favorite people in lieu of Father's Day coming up. I'm going to be, not in lieu of, no, Father's Day's coming up. See what happens when you try to get all tricky with words? So, Father's Day is coming up, and my dad is one of my very favorite people in the world. And not just because I inherited much of his quick wit, the giant lips. Just kidding, Dad. Anyway, this episode is called Good One Dad, as that's what I always say when my dad drops a joke, because that's all he does all the time. If he's not giving to somebody or doing something for someone or whatever, he is telling jokes. So every time he drops one, good one, Dad. Good, bad, or ugly. I just, at this stage in the game, he's going to be 80 years old this year. At this stage in the game, they're all good ones. Praise God, because I still get to have him on this earth, and he's so funny and awesome, blah, 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 blah. You get to hear it all. But anyway, I told some really funny, I think they're funny. Many might find the stories of my dad somewhat offensive. But oh well, so sad, too bad. That's the real, and one of my very, very favorite stories of my dad. There's all the giving things and all, we'll get to those, but this is my favorite funny of my father. He years ago went to Home Depot, and he was getting a whole bunch of plywood for whatever project he was building. He was always building something. He always had sawdust in his perm, always. But anyway, he was getting a ton of plywood from Home Depot this one specific time. And when he picked up one of the pieces of plywood, a gust of wind had come and kind of caught the plywood and blew him across the parking lot a little bit, as to where he tripped over the cart backwards. The plywood fell on top of him. I sound mean laughing. But hey, whatever. So I'm mean. Sue me. So anyway, plywood lands on top of him, and he's got the cart underneath him, the plywood on top of him, and he's kind of trapped like a gigantic turtle in the middle of Home Depot parking lot. He ends up getting himself over, climbing out from underneath this, and he looks up to see someone inside their car laughing so hard that the windows had fogged up. Good one, Dad. Now I'm going to offset that one with just some generous things he's done, So it's like kind of like a smack, and then a pick him up, and then a smack down, and then a pick him up. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So my mom and dad, they're super giving. My father is the last of his many siblings to be survived, and that's got to be a hard thing to go through. But my dad had a sister and a brother. His brother had gotten diagnosed with cancer and was, all of these things just kind of hitting him with, the home he was living in. And so my mother and father opened up their home to my uncle, and he lived there until he passed. My dad gave him showers. That's horrible. Why am I laughing? I'm such a jerk. But that's part of what makes me so endearing, I think. The real. I'm really real. maybe too real sometimes. But anyway, my dad would, he would take care of him, and he did right up until the day of his death. And he's just been an awesome force. He really didn't just give him a place to live or help him out with some bills, but he loved him and took care of him right up until the end. And that just spoke such immensity to me. It really, it was, sometimes a little awkward having, oh, hi, Uncle Jimmy, and, oh, hi, just kind of, I don't know, because we were just used to our little family dynamic, and now all of a sudden but my dad always, like, oh, I'm going to make a plate for Uncle Jimmy. Now, mind you, how many times I've seen my dad make his own plate? I could probably count them on one hand, which is 5. For those of you who don't know. Anyway, but he would always make a plate for Jimmy and bring it to him, and I loved that. He was just really took great care of him. Now for the flip side. So my dad, one day we were, my parents are a little older. We're over, me and my sister Paula, where at this one specific summer, we were kind of helping them redo their mulch beds and helping them, like every weekend we were over there doing stuff for their landscape. And it's daunting. They have a huge property, a huge house, for 2 people. And, we're over there working, and I'm like, my gosh, I'm doing this area around the flagpole, and my mom's got all these, like the tall grass of, I think it was daffodils or something, lilies or something like that, with that tall grass all around the base of the flagpole. And I'm working on that mulch bed, and I'm looking, and I'm like, what the heck? Was there like a deer or something was like sleeping around the flagpole? I'm like, that is the weirdest thing ever. But whatever, I'm just kind of, fixing it all up. And here comes my dad walking out. Oh, hey, what you doing? Talking to me. And, I'm talking to him as I'm weeding and doing whatever. And he says, hey, do you see what happened there? I said, yeah, what was that? Was that like a deer? Or he's like, nope, that was me. It was you, Dad. Like, you can barely, he's got like arthritis in his knees, and he's like, he hobbles out. He has a tough time. I'm like, how did he do this? What happened, Dad? Well, funny thing, I was in the yard, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I, that big hole right there where the well is, I fell right in it, and I fell on the ground. I couldn't get up. I was laying there. Your mother, she's in the house. She's playing her games on her phone. She doesn't hear me. She doesn't know. I'm sitting there. I'm rolling around. I can't get up. So finally, I crawls over to the flagpole, and I use it to hoist myself up. Praise God for the flagpole, because he could still be out there, right? I love how he blamed my mom too for being on her game. That's so funny. He did that one other time too. I'll knock him down twice, because this story kind of rolls over into that one. So they have a very large property, like I was saying, and he was out clipping and he was working with the hedge trimmers on this hilly area that he shouldn't maybe have been working in, but whatever, he's taking care of his property, he's doing his thing, and that's awesome. 2 thumbs up, Dad. And anyway, I don't know, he lost his footing or what happened, but he slipped and he fell, and he landed in a gigantic bush of thorns. And he was saying, as he was trying to get up, each time he moved, he was getting pierced, rolling around, trying to, as we heard, he has, trouble kind of getting out of that position of landing on his back. Who doesn't, right? So anyway, he's kind of rolling around, and he's I guess he's bleeding from hitting himself on the rock wall, and can't get up. And my mother, playing that darn Bejeweled Blitz. It's gutter. It's gutter. Anyway, he comes in the house finally after who knows how long, honestly. He said about 15 minutes in the thorn bush. My mother doesn't know. She loses all track of time and playing those games. So he comes in and she looks up from her game and he's covered in blood and gashes and all of what happened to you? Disheveled beyond measure. He was bleeding from one place. All the rest of the blood was raspberries. He landed in a raspberry bush. At first, the story sounded horrible. But then the raspberries, sweetened it up a bit. Anyway, good one, Dad. My parents, I was saying, they bought this big giant house. The house that they live in now has 5 bathrooms. When they moved from Chemung Street to this new house in Lakeville, we were all like, what are you doing? None of us even live there anymore. Like, why are you buying such a large home? Because we're also thinking too, like, we're going to be the ones taking care of this at the end of it. And that's exactly what happened. I hope this microphone could pick that up, Sam. Yes, okay. Haha, good. I was wondering if I could speak and whisper. Now I know I can. So anyway, I was asking my dad, I'm like, geez, Dad, why are you going to buy all this and have like all of this? Well, in case one of you kids needs it. What if you need to come back? That's awesome. My parents aren't church-going type Christian-ish people. They have a Catholic background, and they don't see, they see Jesus, but just in a different way than I do. But man, they show the love. It's so amazing to me, like just kind of being in life and living a life where I've been really super involved with church and super involved with people in church, and I like to be super involved out of church too, and just do things, interact, meet people, whatever. And it's funny that there's just as many people who don't go through those doors that have the light inside of them as that do go through those doors, and by the same amount. I mean, like the same percentage. I'm gonna say, like, you see that light in people that just give you this awesome joy when you're around them, and that's my parents, and my dad is just always one to be. They have so many stories of my father. I was contemplating writing a book of the short stories of my dad, and maybe I still will. I have them all compiled, and I was talking to my father about it, and he took the charge. He went running with it. I got a call one day from my dad, and he says, "Hey, Michelle, you got a minute?" "Yeah, Dad, what's up?" "You got a pencil?" "Yeah." "Okay, I want you to write this down. It's for the book." So me and your mother, we go to the bank, okay? And we're in line at the bank, and there's this car behind us, right? And the guy's got a dog, and the dog's like, you got the window down, and the dog barking at everybody, bark, bark, bark. Anyway, so me and your mother, we finally get our turn up at the window, and the lady at the window, she knows me. She knows me there. I go to the bank all the time. She knows me. And he loves to be known, by the way. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love to be known? But he really loves to be known. And the woman at the bank says, "Oh, hi, Mr. Sullivan. Hey, did you get a dog?" And I turns and I says, "No, that's my wife." Good one, Dad. It did make it in the book. The book hasn't been published. It's in limbo. We'll get there. We'll see how this podcast thing goes first and kind of launch off from there. But but I love him so much. He is just so great. So another, my dad loves the flea market. I may have mentioned that before. I don't know. I don't listen to my podcast, so who knows what I've talked about really. And but I swear he loves to just buy things to have things in case anyone ever needs anything, or for instance, oh, I was thinking of getting a cordless drill. Really? I happen to have one, brand new in the box. And son of a gun, you follow my father around for an hour and a half, you're going to end up with a cordless screwdriver brand new in the box. It'll probably be, I don't know, from 1987, but it'll be brand new in that box. You need a VCR? He's got one, brand new in the box. How about a Lego set? What do you need? He's got it, brand new in the box. And I think that's like, okay, yeah, he's got a little of the hoarder thing in him, but just kidding. He's but I really believe the main reason he buys so much is to give it all away to the people he loves, to strangers. You start a conversation with Bill, guess what? You're Bill's brand new friend. And if you need something, if Bill's got it, he'll give it to you. He's just that, well, he won't, maybe not now. Maybe he'll sell it to you now. I don't know. I don't want to be giving away all my parents' stuff. Yes, I do, because they're going to be moving soon, and it's going to be horrible. And maybe we'll bring a film crew alongside to capture some of these moments, as I know. The last time my parents moved from Stoughton to downsize to this 5-bedroom home they're currently living in, they needed over an 18-wheeler. The 18-wheeler was the after, like, to hold all the stuff they didn't need right away. Right? Two people. Two. They can't throw away anything though. My mom still legitimately has the Weebles clubhouse I played with when I was 4 years old. I remember the Christmas I got it. I remember playing with it up until I was about 17 years old. Just kidding. Anyway, so I don't know where I am for time. Hey, Sam, how am I looking on time?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Awesome. So my parents are wonderful, and I'm actually wearing this shirt right now, Polaroid. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can. It's a Polaroid shirt. I wore that in, I've mentioned that I've worked at Polaroid. It was my favorite job, but the only reason I worked at Polaroid was because my mom and dad worked at Polaroid my whole growing up. I don't remember anything but Polaroid. We had Polaroid towels, ski hats, shirts, so much Polaroid swag, it would choke a horse. Now it's like I see it at Target and I'm like, man, I remember walking around with my parents and they'd be like, see, if we had just held on to that, it'd be worth so much. Who would have thought vintage clothes would be the thing you'd really want to hold on to? And it's like the first thing you want to get rid of when you outgrow it or whatever. But so all the Polaroid stuff just makes me think of my parents a wicked lot. I love them so much. I just keep watching my watch because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much of my parents. And so my dad was very and is very smart. He's always had a wisdom and a grace about him hidden underneath all the goofiness and the clumsiness, I guess. All the stories I've talked about have been like, him falling or they're all funny. Come on. We just got to laugh at ourselves sometimes. But my dad, again, with the giving, he had this really choice 72 Cutlass. And he outfitted it with this amazing stereo system. And I swore he did it just to get me jealous. wow, Dad, wow. But he let me drive the thing all the time. So it was almost as if he kind of knew what he was doing, but he's like that with his kids especially. He's just super giving. But it was his car, but he let me drive it, and it was beautiful. It was I know the color brown doesn't sound like a pretty color, but this color brown was like sparkly, and oh my gosh, you could just hear that thing coming with between that like that like 70s muscle car sound and the that really awesome stereo. I'd be blasting Kiss or Van Halen or something, early 90s hard rock. I just loved that car. I was dating that goon Rob at the time. Oh, brother, I can't even. I'm like, it makes me sick. My stomach is like legit turning right now, but maybe it's because of the coffee I've been drinking. I've been drinking a butt ton this morning. Coffee. I'm going to have a sip. So hold up. I did that for the people listening, so you'd know I was actually taking a sip of my coffee. That way, Sam doesn't have to edit out all that stuff. We can just keep that right in there. Be part of the show. Whimsical. How nice, right? So, anyway, he's got this awesome 72 Cutlass. I'm driving the thing like a baller. Here I am, 21 years old. And there was this place in Stoughton we used to go to, which is still around, surprisingly. I'm not going to mention the name, but it was a Chinese restaurant or Asian restaurant. I don't know what's politically acceptable, but Chinese food. Yeah, I think it's Chinese restaurant. Anyway, but we all used to be able to go to this one specific restaurant in Stoughton back in the 80s and drink there and not get carded. They card you now, though. Womp womp. Sorry, kids. Anyway, we were at this restaurant. I don't know if I was 21 yet. I don't think I was, because I was young when I dated Rob. Anyway, we're leaving this establishment. I had one too many drinks. And the Cutlass, too, you won't know this with today's cars, but back in the day, the Cutlass did what was called running rich. And like you could smell the gasoline, like when this car was going, and it would go blub 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 blub. And sometimes you'd have to like hit your foot on the brake and like just kind of tap the gas to just make sure that that car was still going. You know what I mean? And especially in reverse for some weird reason in this car. Well, Rob and I were leaving this establishment, a couple of drinks, and I'm, hitting the brake and the gas, starting to back out of a parking spot when Rob thought it would be a really great idea to crank up the radio really loud. And yeah, I'm blaming him. What? Yeah, nobody. I thought so. Anyway, so when he did that, I like smacked his hand and like looked at like, what are you doing? I'm trying to drive. I've been drinking. I need to concentrate. Oh, forgive me for laughing. It's not something I condone, and you'll see why. And next thing you hear, am I hitting this, Sam? Am I hitting the box? So okay. Next thing you know, smash. I just long blinked for those just listening. Yeah. I look in the rear view and I can only see the trunk in the popped up position. Oh my gosh. I got out of the car. I came around the corner and the light pole had a concrete base all around the perimeter of it, maybe jetting out about 1.5 feet all the way around. And I hit that. And I crushed the back of the car. So we drove back to Rob's. I was scared out of my mind to go home. I literally, we went to sleep and I was thinking, I was afraid to go home. I'm just going to stay here. I remember waking up in the morning and looking out the window and praying it was a bad dream, but it wasn't. There it was, all worse. It was worse the next day. And dear Lord, I had to now drive this thing home and talk to my father about it. Now, he trusted me with this. Gosh, I was such a jerk, you know? And so was Rob, really. Underage drinking, really? That's how we're going to do this? So, yeah, I drive home, and as I'm driving, the trunk is like bouncing in the rear view just because I'm an idiot kid, you know? I don't even tie the thing down. I'm just a moron. I've learned better in all aspects. And I think it was this moment I come in the house, and there's my dad and he used to like lie on the couch. He worked nights, and he would like prop himself up on one arm, and he would have the newspaper on the floor, and he would like flip the paper, and he'd have his big thing of Coca-Cola and his bag of chips on the floor too, and he would just kind of lean over his bent arm and read the paper and eat his chips and drink a soda. And I walked in, and that's where he was. I remember it so vividly. Oh my gosh, on that green leather couch. Yeah, the 80s, we don't know. We don't know what we were doing back then. I'm referring to the couch. So I was, hey Dad, and I told him, I was keeping my foot on. Of course, I'm leaving out I was drinking. I was with this jackwad you don't like. I left all of that stuff out. Hey, I was in the car, and I was keeping my foot on the brake and the gas like you have to do to keep it going. And I was backing up, and it got away from me, and I flew backwards into a pole. He knew right away, man. He saw right through me. Were you drinking? And of course, no, 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 no. Why would you even drinking? Okay. No. And he looked at me and he said, "You're lying." And he just looked back down at this paper, and he's like, "I don't," and he wouldn't look at me anymore. And he's like, "I don't want to look at you. Get out of my sight." And that was it. I was broken, you know. You want your parents to scream. That would have been like, I screamed at myself enough that night anyway. So, my oldest sister, Kathleen, she was really awesome in that. She's like, "Oh, stuff happens. Dad'll get over it. And, it's okay." 'Cause I was just broken. Like, how do I get his trust back? How do I make up for this? And when's he going to be okay? And, yeah, I don't want to get too emotional, but then for some reason, a few days later, there's my dad back in that same position. I walked by him, and I stopped, and my family was never really like, I love you. Oh, give me a hug before you go. I don't think we ever touched each other. And if we did touch each other, it was, he's touching me. She's touching me. It was like that kind of touch. Regular style. But that's how it was in my home. So, that was regular for me. And it's interesting. I don't remember the words "I love you" as a kid being, swirled around my home. But for some reason, I thought this would probably be the best time for me to say it to my dad first. Thinking maybe if I really put my whole heart out there, I'm like, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I love you. Please forgive me." And he didn't look at me. Didn't look at me. He wasn't ready yet. Sometimes forgiveness takes a minute, And I think it was about the lying, of course, but about the drinking and driving. That was just really, really, really stupid. But thank goodness, no one was hurt. And that was the lesson I learned from all of this, not anything that couldn't be repaired. So a few days later, we had back in again in the day, smoking was okay. Well, more socially acceptable anyway. And so much so that half of the members in my home, there was four of us that smoked cigarettes and two that did not. So the basement was kind of the smoking section of the home. And unless it was my dad, he was allowed to smoke upstairs, but the rest of us had to go down in the basement. So I was down in the cellar having a cigarette. That's where like they put like the old furniture, and it was like a cool hangout area. And I had the Nintendo down there and the old TV, and it was pretty righteous for it was pretty righteous. Gosh, good times. Anyway, not smoking though, that's so bad for you. And so anyway, I was down there doing my thing, and I hear, "Hey, Michelle." And it was my dad, and he was calling me. He had his workshop around the corner of the basement. And I'm like, and he was talking to me like nothing happened. He's like, "Hey, Michelle, you see this?" And he's holding the pencil in his hand. I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You know what this is?" I said, "Yeah." "What is it?" "It's a pencil." "What's this on the end of it?" Maybe he just needed that long to find a pencil with an actual eraser. Because my mother's junk drawer, I tells you. And he's like, "You see what that is?" And I said, "Yeah, it's an eraser." "You know what that's for?" "Yeah, it's for erasing things." "Yep, because everybody makes mistakes." That was it. And again, forgiveness. That's like, that old church hurt that we had. And, there's different things you kind of wrestle with in life. And, but it's forgiveness. And once you're able to forgive yourself for things, and at that moment, I was so hard on myself, about that whole thing. I didn't know if he'd ever talk to me again. But he did. Of course he did. He's my dad. And but that moment was just like I forgave myself too. Like he gave me forgiveness, and that's when I was like, people do make mistakes, and it is okay to, be able to pick up and move on from them and learn from them, and that was just a really powerful moment that I don't know if my dad's ever known, but we make fun of him about and that's how we show our love by making fun of each other mercilessly. So I know I am loved in that home, and I am just so thankful that my heavenly Father would gift me with such an awesome earthly father and such an awesome standard for the father of my kids and for my husband. My parents are celebrating their 58th year wedding anniversary. They're going on a cruise to Bermuda. Praise God. 58 years. I strive for that. I love that. I love going over there and seeing them bicker over stupid things and seeing them just love each other fiercely and laugh about everything and nothing. And I get to have that with my husband too, because God saw it fit to give me a dad and a husband for my mom to set that standard for me in my life, which it absolutely has. And I'm so thankful for it. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Love you all so much. Bye.